Magandang gabi, paki-check na lang kung may audio tayo. Magandang gabi, ako po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles. Ito po ang Luminous and it is Sutil Sunday today. So let's start off with one of the questions na madalas kaming tanungin. Particularly in view of the fact dun sa pagkagawad kay Maria Ressa ng kanyang Nobel Peace Prize. Alright. Maraming nagtatanong at nagsasabi, bakit hindi na lang i-declare na persona non grata si Maria Ressa dito sa Pilipinas? Well, what exactly is a declaration of persona non grata? Normally, that's done by resolution, either sa Senado, sa Kongreso, or in local governments, yung kanilang mga city councils or provincial councils, municipal councils, and so on, di ba? It's merely a resolution. And what is a resolution? It simply explains or expresses the sense of the body. O kunwari, it is a resolution by the Senate. Ito po ay the sense of the sense of the Senate. In other words, ano yung nararamdaman nila? So para sa kanila, halimbawa, merong resolution ang isang city at sinasabi, persona non grata is itong isang taong ito, it means that it is the feeling of the officials, particularly the councilors, na hindi dapat pinapapasok or hindi welcome itong taong to dun sa city or municipality nila. That's simply what it is. It has no legal effect. Hindi po pwedeng palabasin ng bansa pag persona non grata. Hindi pwedeng hindi papasukin in the city. I don't even know if it is possible to do that. So, um, but if you want a person to not enter the country and he or she is a foreigner, then that's simply the call of immigrations. Pwede naman mag-file ng request to deny visa yung taong yon. So, I repeat, yung mga bakit hindi pa i-declare na persona non grata, the persona non grata has no legal effect. Okay? So, magandang gabi sa lahat. Huwag po kakalimutan mag-like and share dun sa Luminous by Trixie Cruz-Angeles on Facebook. Well, you can share that, share this feed, or share the one that's on YouTube. And while you're at it, huwag po kakalimutan mag-follow at mag-subscribe. Lalo-lalo na dito sa ating YouTube channel kasi ito yung fallback natin eh. Alam niyo naman na lately ang Facebook has been, well, rather problematic. Dun sa nagtatanong tungkol dun sa case supposedly filed against Facebook and na nagsasabi na yung Facebook fact checkers daw are merely expressing an opinion. Sabi that Facebook admitted in court. Now this admission, we will see what its effect will be on the case itself. Okay? So, we will see. Hindi ko pa po nababasa masyado yan. I've seen only parts of it and I haven't seen any of the pleadings at all. Teka, explore. So, mm, but this also explains a lot of things. What is the effect? Let's say, what is the effect of a foreign court on what the foreign court here in the Philippines? It doesn't necessarily mean na it will apply here. So, in general, it's something that we can use for cautious optimism. Meaning, pwede rin natin tularan yung ganong klaseng lawsuit. Now, we have been planning, well, meron kasing balita na magkakaroon dapat ng Senate or House investigation on Facebook and in particular on how Facebook imposes its own rules here in the country and how it is, number one, advertising without paying any taxes, taking away Facebook accounts seemingly at random, and the question and how questionable those standards for removing accounts are. So, maaari nating gamitin yan as a means to initiate an investigation, whether it is with the legislatures or with investigating with law enforcement, depending on if we see that they are violating any laws. So let me see your comments. Ano sabi ni Mark Anthony de los Reyes, please call out makers of Sarah All 2020 hoodie jacket. Wala po akong mabilhan sa Lazada or Shopee na high reviewed store. Oh, I see. Well, maybe I don't know kasi if that is copyrighted eh. So, or if there is a trademark to that. Kasi otherwise, usually pag campaign materials, sariling sikap eh. If you want to contribute, then you print your own materials. And if the hoodie jacket is a form of a campaign material, I doubt if there you will this will be covered by a copyright. So usually yun ang inaabiso namin when it comes to campaign materials. Regino Randilla says, kamusta po ang DQ case kay BBM? May legal grounds bang interpretation ng ibang DQ cases currently filed against him regarding the tax code? Hi, Regino, bago kayo dito because we have done this to death, as in repeatedly for about 3 lives consecutively. Wala pa po yung, the hearing date I understand is December 15. So we will find out then kung ano, at least kung saan ito dadalhin ng ating COMELEC. May legal grounds ba? Yes. Well, lahat po ng pleadings have to cite a legal ground. The question na lang is if that legal ground is shaky or not. In this instance, the ground of whether or not he has made material misrepresentation is not likely to pass kasi he has not been convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude or of a crime punishable by over 60 months. Now, the question is, the question remaining is whether or not his failure to file an income tax return is one of those crimes that will lead to a perpetual disqualification in accordance with the National Internal Revenue Code. Ayon kasi dun sa National Internal Revenue Code, kapag merong kang violation ng NIRC, then and you are convicted, then may perpetual disqualification po yun. Most likely, this would be interpreted by the Supreme Court. So, sa ngayon, we don't see any, kumbaga, our theory is that the court will most likely, but we don't know for sure, rule in favor of BBM because there are other pronouncements by the Supreme Court na walang moral turpitude po yung failure to file tax return. Sabi ni Aris, bakit sobrang kapal ni Reza para palabasin na inaapi siya dito sa Pilipinas samantalang abusado siya kaya nga convicted sa cyber libel. Kahit may award siya, it seems walang impact sa karamihang Pinoy na maging proud kasi di niya deserve na parangalan siya dahil kadudududang kanyang credibility. So your question is bakit ang kapal niya, which I think is a rhetorical question. Meron siya kasing pinupuntirya. So it's pursuant to an agenda. I still wonder if Kong Mike has enough time to bring up the House investigation over Facebook's biased fact-checking. Ilang buwan na lang papalapit ng campaign period para sa local. Yeah, ako rin, I doubt that he would have the time, nor would Congress might not be inclined to begin an investigation on a social media platform that they need badly for their own election campaigns. So, sabi ni Loreto, bakit patuloy pamudmod ng pera si Manny, di ba bawal? Hindi pa po kasi campaign period at yung mga bawal po ay kadalasan doon sa campaign period nag-a-apply. Now, some people have the theory na the moment he declared his candidacy, dapat nag-a-apply na at the very least yung rules against vote buying. But for sure, malalaman lang natin if somebody actually files the case. Sabi ni Amaya, vlogger na lang yung Rappler, 'di ba? Kasi wala na silang lisensya sa mainstream media. Hindi pa unang-una, hindi po nililisensyahan ang mainstream media. Bahagi po 'yan ng pagsasatupad ng ating freedom of expression na nakasaad sa ating saligang batas. Yung wala na sa kanila is the certificate of registration o of incorporation nila sa SEC. Dahil lumabag sila sa mga rules ng Securities and Exchange Commission, binawian po sila ng kanilang rehistro. Now, hindi pa po final yung decision ng SEC na yon kasi nakaapila ito sa Court of Appeals. Pag nag-rule na po with finality ang hukuman, then magiging permanente yung pagbawi ng kanilang rehistro sa SEC. Pag nabawi yung rehistro nila sa SEC, they are no longer a corporation and they cannot enter into contracts. They cannot open a bank account in the name of Rappler. It will have to be by individuals. Also, wala na silang shield. Kung may liability ang Rappler the corporation, ang mananagot. Pero kung wala nung korporasyon, yung mga individual na may-ari nito ay silang mananagot with their personal property. Sabi ni Jade Kevin Santos, what is your reaction regarding BBM Sarah's motorcade nung binato daw si BBM? Di ba parang ang luwag masyado ng security ni BBM that they can easily be attacked by perpetrators? Okay, these are one of those questions where I'm a little uncomfortable because your presumption is that BBM or Inday Sara both have no say in what they are doing. Parang, sino ba yung tangang nag-handle ng security? Parang ganon. Um, First of all, BBM and Sara are fully in control of everything of their campaign. And therefore, if they decide that this is how they're going to conduct their motorcade or caravans, then this is how it's going to be. They are fully aware of the security risks as well. They might change the way that they are doing things based on what has happened to them. Pero please, let's not assume na somebody else is in charge and that they have no say in it. I understand that they want to do this. It keeps them in touch with people who are supporting them. And so we also have to respect that decision. While we can express our concerns about their safety, I am sure they are also aware of that. Okay. What can you say about the photo that's circulating na kayo daw po ay bayaran ng BBM including TP po and other vloggers? I've seen it na pinost ng mga kakampings kasama po sila BBM's wife TP and yung pong ibang vloggers sa photo. Okay, that picture and several others like it were taken in, if I'm not mistaken, 2017 or 2018. During that time, we were invited by a friend of the Marcoses, Franco Mabanta, to a dinner where BBM and his wife Lisa met with us and talked to us lang. That was it. It was simply a meet and greet. So, if they're using that as evidence, then clearly that is a libelous statement. Sa ngayon, hindi pa namin pinapansin, pero if there are enough people who will express their belief that those pictures are evidence of being bayaran and all that, I want to know, number one, first of all, what do they mean by bayaran? That we are paid to propagandize for BBM? An allegation like that requires proof. So ano yung proof nila na we are writing for BBM? Number two, what exactly is the crime that's being committed? Assuming na bayaran nga kami. Three, what exactly is so bad, assuming that there is a contractual or transactional agreement or relationship between the vloggers and BBM and his wife? Diba? I think that they're using that picture to indicate na yung mga vloggers, myself included, and TP and all these others who are in that picture are biased. And so that is their claim. Biased kami because we had been with BBM, and that bias is the result of a transactional agreement with BBM. So uh, my question now to you is, one, why does it bother you? Two, why would you believe somebody who already hates us? Right? Doesn't that mean that they lack the credibility to make that kind of judgment call on us? But just for the record, hindi po kami binabayaran ni BBM. We just genuinely like the guy. Matanong lang, ano po ba ang advantage ng pagtugon sa imbitasyon at pagpunta ni PRRD sa US? Ah, hmm. Well, he's not there to on a state visit exactly, but he's there for ano na nga ba yung occasion na yan? Hang on. Let me I don't have this story eh. It's a summit. Yeah, I forgot. All right. PRRD was invited by the US president to participate in the Summit for Democracy via video conference. He was invited as head of state to join the US in taking action to strengthen democracy. Well, for me, it seems double-edged. Ha? One is that Biden is finally acknowledging Duterte after so many years so many months siguro of indulging in the rhetoric of the Democratic Party. So, medyo, okay. I thought you hated Duterte. Why are you inviting him? Number two, the President Duterte will can be there. This can work in our favor because one, you know the natural charm of this president, and number two, he finally gets to explain his side. For the longest time, we haven't been really heard by U.S. media, and in a large sense, the communications team of our government has failed in this. So I think that this is a good thing in general, barring anything else. Sabi ni AW, sa ni Chicks outside Evergodesco last Friday. Sayang di nakapag-selfie. You could have asked. Sabi ni Ma'am Karen, tanging si Joy Belmonte lang at Isko hindi nagbibigay ng permit mag-rally sina PPM at Inday. Pwede lang bang discretion ng LGU yun without giving justifiable reason? On another topic, bakit parang walang napag-iimbestiga sa takbo ng justice system ng bansa natin na gumagana naman? I don't understand dito walang nag-iimbestiga sa takbo ng justice system ng bansa natin. If you're talking about the ICC case, this is a matter of defense, and so it is not investigated. It is something that you have to prove in court. So, uh, pwede bang discretion ng LGU ang pagbibigay ng permit to rally? O ganito po kasi yon. Rallies, political or otherwise, including, but first, I just want to take a moment and remind every single this is the other side of the coin. Okay? Um, for many people do not appreciate the right to strike or the right to rally, pero garantisado ito ng ating saligang batas. So I'm just reminding you na ngayon na gusto ninyo yung rally, ngayon naghahanap kayo ng karapatan. Not saying it's you, Miss Karen. All right. Permits to rally. Ayon dun sa ating Korte Suprema, ang karapatan magpulong and to petition the government for redress of grievances, which can be translated into rallies and other forms of protest action, are guaranteed by the Constitution, meaning dapat ginagrant yan. Ang exception is that ang karapatan ng LGU is to say where and when it can be held for purposes of public order. Yun lang po ang pwedeng gawin ng mga LGU. They cannot deny a permit. They can provide alternatives to time and place, such as freedom parks. Hi, Yoshi. No, put down, baby. So, ulitin ko po, ang karapatan po magpulong ay karapatan, tanging karapatan na ginagarantiya ng ating saligang batas. Now, sometimes what the LGU will do is set a time and the place. As in the case of Quezon City, ang sinabi is hindi sila pinayagan nga, it wasn't exactly denied, no? Pero ang sinabi ng Quezon City government, hindi dyan pwede, somewhere else na lang, which is allowed under the law. So, yun po yung framework ng ating batas pagdating sa pagpupulong. And that includes political rallies as well as the other forms of rallies when you're petitioning for redress of grievances. Sabi ni Sir Jade, sabi ni Miss Raisa Robles, di raw siya magfa-file ng ITR. As an ordinary citizen, may implication po ba yung gagawin niyang action na di pag-file ng ITR? Actually, she was mistaken. She said di daw siya mag-file ng taxes. But like BBM. Pero the failure of BBM was the failure to file tax returns. Diba? Yun yung pinagbayaran niya ng fine. As for the failure to pay income taxes, that's still disputed given the fact na para one of the reasons that the RTC decision was contested was because parang walang notice pa ang BIR on the tax deficiencies. So, ano yung implication? Well, siya naman dyan yung mafa-fine hindi naman tayo. So, just let her. Sabi ni Kiel, naguguluhan ako kay Banat Pai. Kala ko ba solid Duterte? Bakit ayaw niya suportahan BBM at Sara? Nakakati tuloy ang tao dahil kay Banat Pai tuloy na ba? Totoo ba na bayaran? First of all, okay, please don't try to entrap any of the vloggers into speaking against other vloggers. It's just not right. Diba? Naghahanap ba kayo ng kakampi na magsalita ako against Banat Pai? Okay, number one, he is entitled to his own opinion. Kung opinion niya yan, hindi ko questionin yon. Because karapatan niya magpahayag ng sarili niyang opinion. Pangalawa, papaalala ko lang po, hindi po inendorso ni PRRD si BBM. Although I understand that he will support Sara. Or he seems to be supportive of Sara. So far, so far. Or as far as I can see. So, hindi naman po siya nagsisinungaling when he says that he's pro PRRD as against BBM and Inday Sara. So, that being said, that is the end of it. Kung hindi po kayo sang-ayon dun sa opinion ni Banat Bay, welcome naman na hindi na po kayo makinig o manood sa kanya. Hindi naman kailangan. And if it upsets you, then I don't think you need to listen to him. Totoo po ba na hindi pa nag-withdraw ng candidacy si Senator Bongo? He has not officially withdrawn his certificate of candidacy, but he did express that he is withdrawing from the race. And I understand that he is no longer campaigning. Sabi ni Ma'am Olivia de la Cuesta, I don't believe na bayaran ng vloggers. Ano magagawa ng mga naninira na yan if gusto nilang BBM sa tandem? I agree. Ma'am Ying says, I would like to think that Biden grew the smarts to recognize na hindi ka nakausap ni Rockstar PRRD, di ka na din. Di ka in, di ba? Guys, pagka meron kayong gustong reactan ko, gaya ng ginagawa nitong ni NBA 2K20, how can I react to a comment that I have not seen? Or, so if you're going to ask for a comment, kukumpletuhin nyo po yung inyong question. Pa-react naman po sa comment ni so-and-so, eto yung comment niya. Because I cannot react otherwise. Sabi ni Scorpius, bias daw. Pot, meat, kettle, and vice versa. Lahat tayo bias. Kaya nga may kanya-kanya tayong bet for president. If that doesn't smack of bias, mga ehem talaga. Sabi ni Aris, what's your reaction on Reza's speech during the Nobel Award? Mukhang marami po siyang nauto ng mga puti at nagkakalat na naman siya ng fake news around the world. Well, for me, that is not naman unexpected. Alam naman natin na ganun yun, di ba? Alam naman natin na yan ang sasabihin niya. We just have to keep repeating our, ang pagtutol natin dun sa mga pinagsasasabi niya at yung lack of credibility niya dito. Parang sinasabi niya she's a prophet who is not recognized in her own country. Oh, please. Whatever. Jolo asks, what is your take on the provisions ng ATL na dineclare ng SES unconstitutional? In our previous live, sinabi na po natin na the reason the last part of Section 4 was declared unconstitutional is that because it is overbroad. So masyadong maraming mapapasok doon sa pinagbabawal ng portion na yon, pati yung mga legal acts maipagbabawal din. So tinanggal na lang ng Supreme Court yon. I think it's okay. Thus for Section 25, hindi in-explain ng Supreme Court kung bakit nag-rule sila na hindi dapat allowable yung simple pakiusap doon sa pagpipetition ng designation of a terrorist group base lang doon sa sa petition ng supranational jurisdictions or other international bodies. Sabi ni Ma'am Veronica na paghahalata yung mga mayors na ayaw magbigay ng permit to rally sa mga kalaban nila sa politika, mga insekto tyora. Sabi ni Oscar, si Joy Belmonte pala chairwoman ng Partido Federal ng Pilipinas at hugpong pagbabago sa QC. Pero si Mike ang kakampi ni BBM Sara. Well, it's because si Mike he was the one who sought the endorsement of BBM. I think na given yung background ni Mayora Joy, it would have been improbable for her to seek endorsement from BBM. Baka kay Inday. So, you're right. Si Mike ang kakampi ni BBM. Sabi ni Fred, ITR, no, an ITR is a tax return. So you don't deduct anything. A tax return is your declaration of income. And the taxes, it's the form that you fill up. Now the taxes, if you're an employee, some employers will automatically deduct, or your employer will automatically deduct or withhold your the income tax from your pay monthly. Tapos sila yung magre-remit. Paano kung manalo si Lenny? Pwede bang sabihin mo na dinaya si BBM? Huwag mong sabihin na di mananalo, possible walang nananalong number 1 sa survey. I don't understand the second part of your question. Hindi po pwede natin sabihin automatically that at yung pagdadaya po kasi sa eleksyon, that is a crime. So kapag sinabi mong nandaya yung isang tao, you're accusing a person of a crime. And if you have no evidence except for the mere fact na nanalo yung tao, then that would be libelous. So kailangan may basehan kayo. So you cannot say blanket without any exceptions or reservations na kapag nanalo siya, nandaya siya. Sabi ni Aris, mukhang naghahabol din si Aling Pink, Lenny, ang pag-FB Live, mukhang napapadalas ang live niya, gusto atang maungusan ang mga vloggers, kaso boring si Madam sa live niya. Yes, and I wonder if she can impart any wisdom other than her motherhood statements. Sabi ni Sarang Jiang, wala bang limit ang mag-submit ng DQ sa COMELEC? Why would you think that there is a limit? Ang pagfa-file po ng kaso ay tungo sa pagpoprotekta ng karapatan. So, kung ilan ang tao na sa tingin nila na labag ang kanilang karapatan, maaaring mag-file ng kaso. Wala pong limits yan. Off topic, may merch na po ba uli ang Luminous at pa-calendar po? Oh, medyo na-late yung calendar namin ngayon. Pero meron pa calendar and dapat may merch. Di ko pa naaasikaso. Although Attorney Ahmed has been printing t-shirts lately. Sabi ni Ian, may lumabas daw po na doubtful. Okay, anong lumabas na ito? Everybody can cast aspersions on any surveys. So, kasi nga, a survey is at best an extrapolation. Kumbaga, ina-amplify mo based on a sampling, random sampling of people's opinions at pinoproject mo that the sample of these people is representative of the population. So, it will never be precise. So people can make opinions for or against these surveys. And it could all be right because, like we said, it's not an exact science. Well, it might be, but sort of precise science because if they were exact to the point where we can predict the next elections, then hindi na po tayo mag-i-election, di ba? Pero kailangan pa rin yung election. Sabi ni Jeff, speaking of, balita ko naghahabol na makakuha ng maraming subscribers ang mga kakamfeng senators marahil dahil sa hinihinging requirement ng COMELEC na verified channels para sa kandidato. Ang verification ba depends on the number of followers? Kasi I got my verification of my personal account not based on the number of followers but based on who I am. So, media eh. Bakit hindi isinama HR at accounting noong nag-file ng case? What do you mean HR at accounting? HR preparation of payroll with deduction, double check by accounting if correct or not. Uh, nung nag-file ng case, bakit magfa-file, teka, bakit ang magpo-provide ng evidence exonerating BBM yung petitioners? So of course they won't do that. Ang vlog po ni Mama Luga wala po sa YouTube or FB, nasa mainstream media ba? Good one. Hanggang kailan po pwede mamigay ng pera si Pacquiao hanggat wala pang official campaign period? Yes. Bale hanggang January. Or at least may defense siya. Sana may mag-DQ rin kay Laila de Lima kaso di rin pansin ng COMELEC mga dating kinaso gaya ng Gabriela o Makabayan Block pati yung kay Lenny Deadma lang ng COMELEC. I can't say that you're wrong completely, pero unang-una, anong magiging basehan para pag-disqualify kay Laila de Lima? Gayong hindi pa nga final yung kanyang mga kaso. Look, BBM was convicted of failure to file income tax return. Final na po yung conviction na yun. Si Laila de Lima, she's on trial but she's not yet convicted. Okay? So may difference yan. Yung sa Gabriela o Makabayan Block, ongoing yan. But I agree with you na napaka-suspicious naman yung pagtatagal ng kanilang mga kaso. What is your take on anti-political dynasty as stated in the Constitution? Are we supposed to have a take on it? I'm not sure what you mean and in which direction that take is going to go. May time limit po ba pag-file ng DQ? Sa DQ, hindi po sa revocation or cancellation of the certificate of candidacy 5 days after filing the certificate. Ramon Narciso says, who recommended to upgrade quarantine period from 3 days to 6 days for visitors from the US? Hotel industry taking advantage. We just canceled our trip next month and my travel agent says all his clients from the US canceled their booking. Normally, the decisions of the IATF are made by after consultation with experts and with other members as well of the IATF. Oh my goodness, how dangerous. Jaime Paul says, what can we charge against the lies of Reza in her speech? Okay. Um, First of all, I would like to remind you na ang karapatan magsalita at magpahayag ay karapatan. Ha? It's a right. It's guaranteed by the Constitution. Anong ibig sabihin kapag may karapatan? It means that somebody has an obligation to ensure it. Now, kapag nilalabag ang batas na ito, nananagot yung lumalabag nun. Now, the freedom of speech doesn't say that we only have freedom to tell the truth, because we can also tell lies and it will still be part of that speech. For example, yung mga sine, yung paggagawa ng sine ay isang karapatan, bahagi yon ng freedom of speech. Pero not all movies are documentaries telling the truth, di ba? Sometimes they are fiction. And what is fiction? But an artistic lie. So you cannot, there is no damage. That you cannot stop people from telling lies if there is no damage. Ang pinapunish ng ating batas is the resulting damage. Now, if Maria Reza's speech resulted in a damage to the country and that damage is quantifiable and can be proven in court, you can file under Article 148 of the Revised Penal Code for false publications. But you will have to prove the damage resulting from that speech. The law, okay, I think people need to understand this. We don't just make laws para pigilin yung certain behaviors. Kailangan inaaral natin yung mga behavior na yon and their effect. So, it is really, kumbaga, you have to identify what is the good that you are trying to protect or what is the bad that you are trying to prevent. What is the social good or the public interest in people, compelling people to tell the truth all the time? How about our artists? Diba? When you make a picture of something that doesn't exist, aren't you telling a lie? Or it's not exactly the truth. So you're going to have to figure out what the standards are and what behavior you're trying to stop and what the standards are for them. So it's very, very dangerous, ha. Remember, na galit tayo kapag tinitake down ng FB yung accounts natin for fake news, because that is not part of the freedom of speech. You cannot compel people to stop saying that they believe in these things even if these things don't exist or have no scientific basis or even legal basis, except if there is damage in that speech. Popoy Batching says, pwede po bang i-cancel ang election dahil sa pandemic? May mga nagpetition po kasi sa COMELEC. General rule, no, because it will create a vacuum in the public offices. So you need a law, if ever, to change the date and to extend the terms. Pero that's problematic because very specific yung term ng mga elected officials. How about Gordon? Pwede ba siya ipa-disqualify dahil sa 86 million convicted siya? No, he is not convicted. What happened was that the COA disallowed certain disbursements made to him dun sa SBMA. So dahil disallowed yan, kailangan niyang isoli. Ngayon, yung failure to return yon, maaaring maging criminal case for malversation. So, dapat kasuhan muna siya. Wala po siyang convicted, wala po siyang criminal case about it. Pwede pang i-file yung criminal case na yon. Sabi ni Acuña Celestino, mamaleni nila ginagawa ng lahat kahit magmukhang alam na, ginagawa pa rin, pero nonsense pa rin. What if Ernesto Abella is the one to be endorsed by PRRD, which is more credible of the two Abellas? Who is the other Abella? I don't understand. Or your sinusuportahan mo. I don't understand. And why is this about me? Sabi ni it doesn't matter. Ang kasong DQ ni BBM moral turpitude versus guilty. Ang laban ni BBM hindi naman moral turpitude ang kaso niya. Ang sigaw naman ng mga nag-file ng kaso, convicted siya. So, COMELEC lang talaga makakapag-decide. No, of course not. Okay? Ah, convicted siya, yes, but not of a crime involving moral turpitude. Now, since the case is in the COMELEC, it will be on the COMELEC rules or on whether or not he is perpetually disqualified. So, dalawa po yan. Please don't try to simplify it this way. The question is whether or not his conviction will amount to a permanent disqualification. Despite evidence and filing from NTF-ELCAC, mukhang bulagan pa din ang COMELEC sa pag-approve ng kapag party lists. Disappointing ang pamunuan ng COMELEC. No. Okay. What do you mean despite of evidences? What do you mean well, actually, despite the evidence, what evidence po? Unang-una, hindi pa po nagta-trial. So, ang nakaka-disappoint really is the delay, not in what they have already decided. So, wag niyo pong pangunahan ng COMELEC, pero mag-question tayo kung bakit nagtatagal. Sabi ni Mayat Cruz Palaypay, karapatan ng COMELEC na tanggapin bawat complaint kahit ikaw pwede ka mag-complain, kukuhain nila yan. Hindi po karapatan, mandato po nila na tanggapin ang bawat complaint. Ah, bakit masyadong partisan ang COMELEC? Kampi masyado sila sa CPP-NPA, mga party list against CPP-NPA tulad ng Abante Sampayanan, nilaglag ni Conson. Tapos lahat ng Makabayan Block tuloy ang ligaya. Okay, it doesn't work po that way, ha? I'm not sure yet kung ano yung basis at hindi ko pa nakikita yung decision ng COMELEC on the Abante Sambayanan. So, i-reserve muna natin yung comment na yan. Pero yung sinasabi ninyo, tuloy ang ligaya ng mga party lists na masyadong kampi sa CPP-NPA. Unang-una, yung correlation between these party lists and the CPP-NPA are not even sufficient to make them liable under the Anti-Terrorism Act. So, right now, ang nangyayari is guilt by association. Ina-associate natin itong mga alleged front organizations na ito na directly linked to the CPP-NPA. Hindi pa po natin alam yung direct link na yan. Ang alam lang natin is that they fail to condemn the CPP-NPA and we suspect that they are supporting the CPP-NPA. Now, this suspicion is not necessarily a fact. So, kailangan i-distinguish natin kung ano yung suspicion natin, ano yung fact. Para sa inyo kasi, yung iniisip ninyo na correlation is already a fact. Well, that might be your opinion and that is fine, but opinions will not replace evidence or facts. Legal po bang magbigay ang LGU ng 120K bawat isa samantala lang ang mga casual 175 pesos per day? Third class municipality po ito. Okay, hindi po bound by the minimum wage law kapag gobyerno at pag contracted services that the contracted amount. Kaya nga yung ENDO gustong asikasuhin ng presidente pero hindi magawa without a law. Leo Imperial says, I could not understand why the Nobel Prize Committee chose to listen to Maria Reza's lies and not even seek the sentiments of the Filipino people. The Filipino people who maybe just 25% know who Maria Reza is and that the majority of that 25% despise her. Unfortunately, hindi po bahagi ng criteria ng Nobel Peace Prize ang public opinion. Sabi ni Stormy Savvy, worried po kami sa safety ni BBM. Baka po may manggulo sa mga NPA, saka masyadong maluwag security ni BBM. Then please make it known to them. Lagay niyo po dun sa ano. Papasabi rin po natin through Boss John at na ang concern ninyo ay for his safety. But yes, I agree that we should all be concerned about his safety. But please don't presume na hindi nila alam or that they are not the ones making that decision to do their campaigning that way. Sabi ni Sir Francis, mas importante sa akin kung papayagan pa din ba ng COMELEC yung 25% shading, I'm pretty sure hindi na dapat. Hindi nila mabigyan ng sample kung paano yung shading na yan. Mamaya 10% na lang shading, hindi pa natin alam. Good point. I like that. Thank you kay Ma'am Michaela for your super chat. Sabi ni Bernard Veron, you're not going to like my answer. Bakit po ang UP sikat sa pag-produce ng mga NPA? Um, Actually, yung UP yung sikat. And therefore, kung merong nag-NPA sa kanila, it's a big deal. Kasi alam niyo ba na pagpapasa lang namin sa mga sa UPCAT ano, major undertaking yan, major wow, pumasa si so and so ng UPCAT because it is the premier state university. At dahil sikat ang UP, kapag merong gumawa ng masama or gumawa ng mabuti, whether lalo-lalo na kapag estudyante pa lang, it is ano na it hits the headlines. Ganun lang yun. But you cannot say that mas marami ang nag-NPA na taga-UP kesa sa ano sa ibang mga schools. Ang number one talaga is PUP. And it hasn't always been UP. In the late 60s and 70s, kasama pa ang Merinol dyan. Merinol, Ateneo, Saints Co, private schools. Sabi ni NBA 2K20, the petitioners are confused with the concept of accessory penalties under the revised penal code and additional penalties under the NARC. The former need not be stated as these are inherent. He's talking about yung one of the alleged defenses of BBM. Kasi ang sinasabi ng ibang lawyers is that walang nakalagay dun sa Court of Appeals decision na merong perpetual disqualification si BBM. Ang sinasabi dyan is that because it is an accessory penalty, hindi kailangan isulat ng Court of Appeals sa kanyang desisyon. Yung additional kung sa ano, accessory penalty under the revised penal code, hindi kailangan i-state ng Court of Appeals. Pero yung additional penalties, which are the ones that are stated in the NIRC, yon kailangan i-state yon. So this is actually a defense. Thank you kay Ma'am Teresa Benarao at saka kay WM1032. Sabi niya, good evening from Sydney. Please meet my mother, Estrella Regalado. Magandang gabi, Mrs. Estrella Regalado. If ever pwede pong replace ni Aimee si BBM, is it legal? Well, you're assuming that there is either a disqualification or a death. Well, yeah, it's possible, but they have to be from the same party. Why would you, well, in theory, yeah. Kind of off topic. As a creator, what is your thought over the removal of dislike counts in public on YouTube, which believes improving the mental health of the creators? I think that we have babying creators way too much. But that's just an opinion. Okay. Ang mga aktivista ng PUP po, matatalino. Yung mga nag-aaktivista sa UP, mga to compare Student Rally 2007 to 11 versus 2016 to now. Hi, Miss Ruby. I disagree. I think that all of them are intelligent. Di ka naman makakapasok sa universities na yan kung hindi ka matalino. And, oh, by the way, taga-UP ako and I am enrolled. So, ano lang, kumbaga, let's not go with the sweeping generalizations. Naiinis lang ako kay Maria Ressa. Lagi niyang sinasabi na kaya siya iniipit ng gobyerno ay dahil siya ay isang journalist. Napaka, yeah. Sabi ni Joey Roy Bondok, I agree, UP alum here, hirap pumasok, mas mahirap gumraduate. Oo. Pero parang nakala ng mga tao, ang dami-daming aktivista. And nung time namin, they would beg us to sit in their rallies. Convicted pala si Raffy Tulfo sa libel. Ang libel case by moral turpitude. Yes po. Yes. So it depends kung kailan po yung conviction niya. Good evening, sabi ni Merlin Yates. The thing is, does the COMELEC have a time limit to decide on these DQs? No, they don't. What if they will delay the DQ and decide when BBM becomes a winner? Why? What makes you think that it ends with the COMELEC? Actually, it will go up to the Supreme Court no matter what the decision is going to be. So it doesn't really matter. It's going to take time. And no, there is no time limit. Sabi ni Ruby, hindi naman po verified students yung mga nag-aaktivista ng UP attorney. Ayan na naman with the sweeping generalizations. Baka nasa kampo nga lang sila scholar daw sila ng bayan. Ngayon KPRRD lang naman nagmumuna sa rally ang students. I don't understand. What I don't really get your point. Sabi ni Paul Alfred Villaalba, magandang gabi po. Off topic po, alam niyo po ba ang rights ni EJ Obiena kung napatunayang may pagkukulang ang Patafa sa nangyari sa kanya tungkol sa payment sa coach niya sa ibang bansa? Salamat po, magandang gabi. I understand that Patafa had been asking for a liquidation for over 2 years. So, it's not exactly wrong yung sinasabi ng Patafa. Pero ang sinasabi lang ni EJ Obiena was the timing in asking for it. Kasi nasa siya, he was in competition daw at the time. So, ang sagot naman ng coach is nabayaran na siya, which means that although he was not paid on time, he was paid eventually. Sabi ni Marlon Enriquez, so if convicted si Raffy, disqualified siya. Yeah, he could be disqualified. But it will depend kasi 5 years 5 years from the time of his conviction, disqualified siya to run for public office. So I understand that he has several libel cases. So it will depend on, ano ba to? On when naging final yung latest na libel case niya. Eto, sa totoo lang, I'm one of those na nakakita how BBM mob by supporters, halos mahubaran si BBM at isa ako sa halos manghimatay dahil sa kagustuhan na malapit sa kanya. Napakabait kasi ni BBM, gusto niya talagang makamayan ng lahat, same with Inday Sara. That's their way siguro para maiparamdam sa amin na importante kaming mga supporters. I agree. Off topic, wala pong mandano sa bakuna. Can the LGU refuse renewal of business permit if di bakunado ang proprietor? That's a question for the court. What do you mean wala pong mandato sa bakuna? Meron. Meron sila on the administration of the vaccines. Pero refusal to renew business permit pag di bakunado ang proprietor, that's a question for the courts. I don't think that that's related. But you don't know. Sabi ni LMX, what is your reaction about the fact that America is against BBM as per the intel about the survey of Lilo appearing that BBM has 82% in the US favoring for Lenny? First of all, intel is simply that, it's intel. Now, there is such a thing as raw intel, verified intel, and so on. So, for me, it doesn't really matter that Maybe it might matter later on when he is president or if he is president, but it is not the US who's going to be voting. Now, I know that many people are wary of the US and that they do have a history of meddling in elections, but I think that their era is passing. Sabi ni Raymond Christopher Garcia, pansin ko bakit hindi direct na sa Supreme Court yung mga petitions because you have to exhaust all administrative remedies first. The Supreme Court will not accept the case if it would have been speedier to resolve it at the administrative level, which is the COMELEC. So talagang kailangan sa COMELEC muna. Mark Bagsit says, kung napagbayaran na ba ang nagparusa sa krimen na may moral turpitude, pwede na ulit tumakbo for office? Um, 5 years po after conviction. Ma'am Karen says, so if Raffy Tulfo is convicted at may magsampa ng DQ case sa kanya, pwede siyang ma-disqualify knowing he's leading in the senatorial survey. Sabi pa naman niya, ibabalik niya prangkisa ng ABS-CBN. Well, yeah, pwede po. So if mag-decide po ang COMELEC na DQ si BBM, it still has to go up to the Supreme Court. No, not that it still has to, but the petitioners will probably take it up to the Supreme Court. And if ever matagal po bago madesisyon nila yon sa Supreme Court, as in baka di pa tapos until ma-declare ng presidente si BBM. Yes, it's possible. Bakit po ang DQ petitions versus BBM matutulad sa kaso? Baka po matulad sa kaso ng Villafuerte versus Lenny, natapos ng term as congressman, di pa na-desisyonan. Well, isn't that a good thing for BBM? Because as long as the COMELEC has not made a decision, he can run and he can win. Wala naman pong TRO. Ma'am Ida says, just to thank you for your patience in clarifying matters and for choosing the new rock stars. Pei Cabanes says, totoo po bang ilalagay sa 1,000 peso bill ay ang isang Chinese na Vicente Lim na isang Lieutenant Colonel US Army na hindi naman hero ng Pilipinas? First of all, why is it an issue if he was Chinese, if he ultimately was a Filipino citizen? Colonel sa US Army, baka sa United States Armed Forces in the Far East, and baka Philippine Scout. So, ang ilalagay po sa 1,000 peso bill, first of all, is the Philippine Eagle. And second, let's not be racist. And third, I think Vicente Lim is in fact a hero. Wala sa school yan hanggat may CPP, NPA, NDF, Legal Front na student orgs, it's a example LFS and Akbayan, maaaring mag-produce sila ng NPA. I don't think the schools produce NPA. They are recruited. Kasi para naman you're blaming the institution. Now, there are issues ako with the curriculum of UP and with its nationalistic bent, but also with their seemingly non-hostile attitude towards the recruitments, no? But okay, let's get something clear first. Recruitment doesn't happen in universities. Makuhuli talaga yun. What happens is the radicalization. And once na-radicalize na yung estudyante, they're the ones who actively seek membership in the CPP, NPA, NDF. Now, stop thinking that these students are victims simply because of their age. By the time they are recruited, they are usually 18 or above. Now, there are exceptions. Yung iba, 17 na re-recruit. Pero hindi sila pinamumundok unless, walang tumututol na magulang, walang maghahabol and all that. In which case, pwedeng younger. Pero general rule, nagiging careful sila. Kinukuha nila 18 na. And so now you have to decide. Do you want to see them as victims even if at the onset, nakikita nyo, they freely choose these? What we need to address is the circumstances that lead to this. So unang-una, durugin na natin yung mga communist terrorist groups. like the CPP, NPA, NDF. Kung wala na yung kanilang army, yung NPA, hindi na mare-recruit para wala nang pupuntahan yung mga nire-recruit. Number one. Number two, kailangan mapatunayan, imbestigahan at mapatunayan yung mga links with certain organizations. Dahil itong mga organizations, sila talaga yung tumutulay between the recruits and the CPP, NPA, NDF. So, and also, let's take a good long hard look at our students themselves. Because they are often adults, we have to stop thinking of them as victims, but rather as willing co-conspirators already. They're old enough to make these decisions, and therefore, we have no choice but to deal with them in that way. I think they need a good hard talking too. And so tama yung ginagawa ng NTF-LCAC na kailangan nadidinig din sila in the universities and in the campuses. So those schools that don't allow them to enter, yun ang tatanungin natin. Bakit ayaw ninyo? Hindi ba as academic institutions dapat naririnig lahat ng panig para complete at free and informed decision ang ginagawa ng mga estudyante? Nung Pinoy admin po kasi sobrang na-demonize ang mga aktivistang estudyante, UP po mostly, remember sunugan ng upuan, nga no. Ito po mga student rally ng UP ADMU pati DLSU, nakisawsaw, halatang pakawala lang ng dilawan. That's what you meant. Well, yeah. Kumbaga, mas maraming hardcore nga sa PUP. Pero I guess this is a lot more complicated. Pagka yung mga tipong medyo dilaw, well, hindi kasi siya illegal to be yellow. Sabi ni Chev, same goes for a certain Sonny Trillanes who's also convicted of libel. His conviction is not final, ha? Inapila niya yan, kaya pwede siya magkandidato. Lol, sabi ni Ma'am Agnes Bolusa sa Bugo, UP here, nope, was never manipulated. Martial law baby ako. Member pa ang Soro that are activists. I was never recruited nor swayed towards the left. Never, never generalize, sister. Hi, Dennis. Ayon kay Right sa Loveless, hindi siya mag-file ng buwis kung sakali mang manalo si BBM sa 2022. Di pa kulong kung hindi siya magbabayad ng income taxes. Pero kung failure to file tax return, ifa-fine lang siya. So pagbayarin siya ng fine. Liwayway Angeles says, ano po masasabi niyo doon sa nagko-comment pag hindi na disqualify si BBM, nagbayad ng malaki? How can you assume that? Ang hirap magpaliwanag na hindi napatunayan ng akusasyon sa mga Marcos. Oo nga Tapos kung mga akusa kayo na nagbayad, kailangan pinatutunayan din po yun, di ba? Sabi ni Paul, may mali daw dun sa pagsulat ng banknotes. Hindi ko pa po alam kung ano yung mali dun. Ano yung mali? The rule on accessory penalties under the RPC can't be suppletory to the NIRC's penal provisions because the system and nomenclature of penalties in the latter are different from the former. Yes, pero nobody is saying RPC. NIRC ang nasa petition. So bakit maariba pa dyan? Convicted na po ba si Laila de Lima? Hindi po. Kung convicted na siya, ba't siya po? Hindi nga siya convicted Sabi ni Ruby, student activism noon, mostly student life concerns like tuition fee increase. Walang upuan sa campus, issues ng mga estudyante ngayon, lahat na lang sinawsawan nila. Nung Pinoy, walang mga silbing student, ngayon mga pag-asa na uli ng bayan. Sila. I don't know. Tatanong ko sa mga kaklase ko. Ano po reaction ninyo sa bagong banknotes? Sana isabay na rin ng 500 kasi ginawang sementeryo parang mga angkan ng mga Aquino. Sabi naman ng BSP, they're going for flora and fauna instead of heroes ngayon. Sabi ni Eugene Nerex, madami rin ang mga DDS, Dilawan diehard supporters. Dito sa Cebu, kaninang umaga, nag-motorcade po ang mga pink, kaso puro sasakyan. Wala pong mga nakamotor, kagaya ng BBM. Talagang di sila makamasa. Saan kaya kumukuha ng budget si Tiliana? Sa Iloilo, ginagamit niya mga magdalo mamigay ng stroke rehab machine. Kumuha siya ng donations for that. When can we talk about who or what should be put on banknotes since heritage is also concerned here? Convicted si Laila de Lima sa korte ng Victoria Court. Um, I think that the time for talking about it is past kasi nag-decide na ang BSP na flora and fauna nga. Sabi ni June, tama na ilagay sa Eagle sa 1,000 peso bill. Gusto lang ng BCP na uniform lahat ng bills including 500. Hayop ilalagay. Yep. Bakit pinalitan ng Eagle? Josefa Escoda et al. Are already fine. Yung 500 bill ang palitan. Lahat po papalitan. Sabi ni NDA, thinking Pinoy collab po, nag-uumapaw ng talino. Baka kasi kami ng schedule ni TP at nag-aaral siya. So, huwag naman po nating guluhin. Bigyan nila pa ng pressure yung tao, namin na ang ginagawa. So nice na makita in person si Mayor Sara yesterday sa caravan sa Marcos Highway. Ganda, no? Sabi ni Joseph Muadib, sino yung tanga na nag-aabang sa expressway ng masasakyan? Grabe, teka, iisipin ko muna kung sino yan. Ito, sabi ni JPD Funtorum, nakita ko yung post nyo with Attorney Gadon. Kumusta na pala yung kaso na final sa kanya? Update po. He's not worried. So, yun lang po yun. I have no doubts that he will kick it. So, right now, it's just been filed. So, wala pang mga panawag, wala pa siyang, I don't think he even has a copy of the complaint yet. So, medyo maaga pa po. Lawsuit filed against Facebook, admits their so-called fact checkers are just opinion. Yeah, we talked about this earlier po. 1979 PUP graduate at kalma kami, walang ganyan. At behave kami tahimik ang PUP life namin. After 86, yan ang result ng Cory governance for releasing the communist heads. Actually, parang may point ka doon. Ano masasabi mo sa balak nilang i-boycott ng mga dilawan ang angkas kasi ba susuportahan nila ang BBM Sara? Parang ang dami nila. Yun lang po. Kala naman nila ang dami nila. Ma'am Karen is asking, may deadline ba kailangan pwede tanggapin ang old 1K notes? Tira pa ako ng old 1K notes konti at sayang naman OFW here, still stuck in the UAE. Hindi pa ina-announce po ng BSP kasi hindi pa naman laganap yung pag-iimprenta eh. Sabi ni Ma'am Lorna, kumanta ng Christmas song si Mayor Inday. Oo nga, di ba? Nakita ko nga yung yung views. Nagjo-joke-joke pa lola mo, talaga naman. She's really very endearing, sinasabi ko sa niya. And when she turns on the charm, nako, parang Duterte charm talaga. Wala akong masabi. Sabi ni Edgar Benito, sana maglagay din ng jellyfish sa banknotes para kay VP Lenny. Just like the evolution of jellyfish, it survived for a million years without brain. Central nervous system naman yata sila. Sabi ni yes, you can explain how Maria Ressa is convicted of libel kahit hindi siya nagsulat ng article about dun sa Mr. Keng because she's the publisher of Rappler at nakalagay po dun sa libel nakasama po ang mga publishers. Also, if she has the editorial judgment, siya yung nagpalagay or she declined, especially sa pag-continue ng article. The article could have been taken down early on, but she may have been the one of those who made the decision to keep the article on. Ano po reaction mo sa paglalagay ng Malaysia sa unit team para natuloy silang love team? Pero ang lakas kasi ng chemistry, maganda na magkasundo. Parang ang Burke sila eh. Tinatawag namin political love team pero not in the may mali siya sense, di ba? It's more like, match made in heaven, political heaven talaga. Sabi ni Sir Bobby, with speech of Reza on the Nobel Peace Prize, uy, thank you Sir Bobby dun sa pinadala ninyo. Tulog pa rin PCA, oo, pinangungot na yata. Hindi po, nag-ano na siya, para silang na semento dun sa dati sa pwesto nila, dun pagkaupo. Hindi na sila gumalaw doon, nakakairita. Ay, last two, kasi more than an hour na tayo. Ano po mangyari sa kaso ni Angel Manalo? Hindi ko na po nasundan, sir. Fritz Sangilan says, ang Unity Caravan ng BBM Sara sa Iloilo Province debunks the belief that Western Visayas is a yellow bailiwick. Ang mga political leaders lang ang mostly yellows, pero ang karamihan ng mga tahimik na populist, Marcos loyalists. Nice. Thank you kay Ma'am Dina lang for your super sticker. Sabi ni Ma'am Lydia, si Bongbong, parang Duterte pagkatao, wrong. Ma'am, hindi. Ang sinasabi ko kanina is Inday. Paula Pini says, paano kung mananalo si Lenny? Pwede bang sabihin, tinanong mo na yan kanina at sinagot ko na yan ah. Very liberating talaga makinig sa program mo. It's like having a free lecture on legal matters and pretty much anything under the sun. I haven't heard PRRD speech. I have to have a look at it. Permission to post. Kung mga hayop lang ang ilalagay sa pera, di ba yung nasa 500 mga hayop din? Guys. About dun sa cancel culture ng Pinklawans, yung latest kay Direct Paul Soriano, pwede po ba siya magkaso or leave it as it is? I think being canceled is not necessarily libel. Malicious imputation of a crime, vice, or defect. Ang rule of thumb dyan. Grabe, nagkaka-spammers tayo. Pinablock ko lang to. Delete comment. Yan. Grabe! Ano ba yan? Ba't ang daming nag-spam na? Kaloka ah. Sabi ni Dina lang, Inday is more strict than Digong, trust me. Oh, I do know this. Any news about Enchong D's libel case? Hindi, wala pa po akong balita. Ano pa lang naman kasi sa preliminary investigation pa lang. First time nakapanood rito at sulit ang oras ko watching attorney from Cebu. Hi! Naku, kamusta kayo dyan sa Cebu? Gusto kong bumalik. Yosh! Yosh, that's kuya. Sana mapansin niyo matulungan ako mapapirmahan kay BBM old book ng father niya. Salamat po. Let's see kasi busy sila ngayon and I don't know if they're in Metro Manila. So, magtatanong po muna tayo Off topic, bakit po hindi tayo gumawa ng sarili natin na armas? Bakit need pa natin umorder sa ibang bansa? Meron naman tayong arms corps. In fact, locally, 'di ba, one of the nasa yung sa negative list natin, hindi pwedeng mag-manufacture dito ang foreigners ng armas. So meron tayong mga local manufacturers niyan. Off topic, bakit po hindi tayo na rin yan? Time to take the internet back from the hands of Maria Reza. I hope that somebody here will file suit versus FB. Sorry kung di ko naabutan first part ng live. Ano po tawag sa bagong series ng pera? Naalala ko panahon ni Marcos yung Flora and Fauna. Well, mukhang binabalik. Nag-English na Nag-English na naman si Yoshi. Hey, Yoshi. Yoshi and Harry, come here. Guys, Harry. Ayaw akong pansinin eh. Ah, sabi ka Aliw, si Inday Sara during caravan, gusto niya daw yung naka-mic siya, enjoy daw siya. Sabi ni NBA, thank you po, computer science student ako pero na-intriga ako sa law dahil kay BBM. Ha? Aware ka po sa lawsuit filed against FB? Yes, ma'am. I'm still looking at how it's going to redound to us. Retired newscaster po ang nag-file. Pwede po kaya mag-file sa mga fact-checkers dito sa atin. Actually, yun nga yung matagal na namin iniisip. Pero iniintay namin yung investigation locally muna, yung congressional investigation. Kasi ganun po yung nangyari sa US muna. Nagkaroon ng Senate investigation on Facebook, di ba? Last question. Yung ginawa po ba ni Maria Ressa ay pwedeng i-contempt of court in spite of the fact that the court was good to her in granting her permission to travel abroad to receive the award. The court cannot police what a person is going to say. Kasi nga, bahagi yan ng ating freedom of speech. No law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech. So kahit anong sabihin niya, hindi po yan, well, binabalanse po yung power ng court to issue an order for contempt as against a person's right to speak. So malabo po mangyari na mapagsabihan siya ng hukuman. Sabi ni Rain, good evening sa crush ko. Sinong crush mo, si Yoshi? May barya ka na. At least, pahamon naman para sa mga sutil. Sana ituloy na ni Gadon na Okay. Hindi ko pwedeng sabihin or basahin yan. Kasi baka ma-demonetize tayo ng YouTube. Thank you kay Ma'am Dina lang for 2 super stickers. Not 1, but 2 super stickers. Yan, sabi ni Ian, road to 70K na tayo on YouTube. Share, 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 subscribe. Maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay sa Sutil Sunday natin ngayon. Have a good, restful rest of your Sunday. May karambola po tayo bukas ng 8 o'clock. So, and thank you very much. Yung tinatanong ni Yes, can you share your experience with Inday Sara? I don't have personal experience kasi like I keep telling people, hindi po kami, kumbaga, uh, normally ang reaction ko dyan, I don't think she even knows I exist. Well, she knows Karambola exists. kaya binabati namin siya sa Karambola. But she's so cute kasi um, one time may pinahanap niya yung phone number ko. So I had people calling me up saying, "Hey, Attorney Trix, hinahanap ni Mayora Inday yung phone number mo." Akala ko naman, shoot, what did I say? Did I say something bad? Ano kayang nangyari? So when she finally sent a message, sabi niya, pabati sa karambola. Oh my God, she's so cute. Tawang-tawa ako sa kanya. So, ganun kasimple yung mga yung yung pagkaintindi ko sa personality niya. I mean, there are lots more stories that I have heard, but it's not for me to tell. So, yung iba, like, makakwento ko pa si BBM. Kasi mas madalas ko siyang nakakausap. Pero si Mayora Inday, I'm still in awe. Parang ang feeling ko, oh my gosh. Hanggang ngayon ang feeling ko, oh my gosh, nanonood si Mayor Inday ng Karambola. As in, oh my gosh. 'Di ba? Parang hindi pa rin natatanggap ng isip ko. I can't wrap my mind around the fact that na minsan-minsan nakakanood siya ng nakakanood siya ng karambola. Okay, Mark Anthony, yes, magkakaroon ng Luminous merch kahit fan-made. Actually, gumagawa na kami kasi parang ang Facebook, mas less yung pag-throttle kung meron kayong merchandise. So, we're going to look at that. Para lang hindi kami masyadong tinathrottle, maglalagay tayo ng bentahan doon. Sabi ni Scorpius, fangirling match. Ay nako, constantly pagdating kay Mayora Inday. Kasi I think that, oh my gosh, di ba? In addition to, nag-fangirl din naman ako kay PRRD. Pero And mas na, like nung birthday ko, bumati pa nga si Kong Pulong. Yun talaga himatay-himatayin na ako. Pero nung si Mayora Inday nagpabati sa karambola, sabi ko, pwede na akong himatayin. Parang gawang-gawa na yung year ko. Last, pangalan ng crush ko, wala pang ang barya. Better if you let the fans design the merch, then price na lang yung free merch sa mananalo. Pwede rin. Sige, I'll talk to Attorney Ahmed about it. Meanwhile, maraming salamat for your Sutil Sunday today. Actually, mas nag-enjoy ako sa Sutil Sunday. I hope as much as you enjoy it. Karambola po bukas. Don't forget, 8 to 10 ng umaga si DWIC 882 AM. And we're here on YouTube and Facebook as well. Uy! Paano naman pa-subscribe naman sa YouTube at saka pa-follow naman sa Facebook. Tina-throttle kami uli, so don't forget, comment din dun sa aming Facebook or kahit yung mga likes and shares lang, okay na yon kasi para nakikita kami uli. Because as usual, favorite na naman kami ng mga fact checkers. Maraming salamat. Oy, tulog na maaga para makapagkarambola bukas. See you tomorrow.